Africa, Middle East, and Central Asia holds 33% of the world's critical mineral reserves, such as lithium, graphite, cobalt. These are like rare earth metals, which are in super high demand as we speak, right? And yet, they only process roughly about 6% of these minerals globally. They hold 33%, but they only produce 6%. And Africa actually produces almost next to zero. This 27-point gap, that is the difference between they holding 33% and they only able to produce 6% as part of global production, means that there's a gap of 27%. That 27% gap in their inability to produce is an opportunity for investors. And that opportunity, according to experts at the just ended Qatar Business Forum, that opportunity is valued at 50 billion US dollars. That is billion with a B, US dollars. And that is what this content is just going to be about, to unpack that opportunity so that investors and people who are looking at entering the African market to take advantage of this particular opportunity in the area of rare earth metals or rare earth minerals will be able to have the information they need to at least start that journey. To put it in context, you and I have seen the level of acceleration or the adoption of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are basically the vehicles of the future. I mean, that's where the future is. The world is moving away from fossil fuels into the area of natural energy, or I would say green energy. Let's put it that way. Green energy, which comprises of wind, solar, and the rest. And electric vehicles, one of the key components for electric vehicles is the battery that runs those vehicles, right? All right. Before we even jump deep into this, I just want to tell you about a report that we are giving away for free. If you are an investor, a business person, a multinational, and you want to enter the African market, or you already are in the African market, but you want to learn more about the dynamics of the market, we have a report called the Africa Market Entry Checklist. It's a 14-page comprehensive report that shows you step by step all the things you need to check off before you establish your business or actually invest on the continent. It's super comprehensive and it's packaged and it's for free for you. Within that report, or on top of that report, we have an amazing tool within the AfricaInsights.ai tools box called the Investment Opportunities Finder tool. It's an AI-driven tool or AI-backed tool that pulls investment opportunities, hot cake investment opportunities across the entire length and breadth of the continent of Africa, covering all 54 African countries and all 18 major sectors. So you basically pull the report by the country and by the sector, and boom, all the hot cake investment opportunities are just going to be thrown at your face. And that's the power of it. So you can have access to that tool, and you can also have access to the checklist report. So with that said, if you want to download the report, there's going to be a QR code on this screen. And then also there's going to be a description, a link in the description section of this video. So use those to get access to the report. All right. So as I was saying, electric vehicles are the vehicles of the future, if not the vehicles of present right now. And by the year 2030, car companies will need, or EV companies, electric vehicle companies will need about 7 times the amount of lithium they actually use or require today. That is just about 5 years down the road. And they will need 7x the volume or the quantum of lithium, which is used in making electric vehicle batteries. The irony is that right now, China is the leader in these in lithium production because they refine up to 60% of the world's lithium ore. 60%. If you remember, even in the midst of US China trade war, I would say US and the rest of the world trade war, of which China was severely impacted, right, in 2025. One of the areas that the US, in spite of all the hike in tariffs, the area they sought compromise, even at the height of all these ridiculous increases in tariffs, was in the area of Chinese rare earths. US wanted to tariff everything, but they wanted China to still export rare earths into the US. That tells you the impact of not having rare earth could do to your economy, because that is the next wave of, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of automobile, in terms of smart devices, many other things. Rare earths are key. That also explains why US had to sign a deal with Ukraine to help them mine their rare earth metals, because China is actually the leader and US actually is behind. And guess where the bulk majority of these kind of ores come from? Africa, of course. So that's the current state, right? Vehicles need lithium. Lithium is going to be needed next. And China is the mega star of refining the lithium ore. So, in terms of African context, there is a massive opportunity in this area for investors and business people who want to enter this area. So I'm just going to unpack this. There are basically three different opportunities when it comes to rare earth resources. And it's going to blow you off. So the first one has to do with lithium and graphite. So lithium used for car batteries and EV batteries and any battery at all. Very soon we're going to have home. I think Elon Musk has a company that already has battery systems for homes, where the internal partition walls are actually the batteries, which is phenomenal. So there are lithium graphite deposits in places like Zimbabwe. I think Zimbabwe is the leader in Africa when it comes to lithium ore. Then Namibia, Tanzania, Mali. And even there are other countries like I think Cameroon as well has large deposits of graphite. So, and many countries are going to start unearthing or discovering these rare earth metals or rare earth resources, because it's the new craze in town. And I can bet Africa has a ton of them that many people have. That has not been discovered yet. These are the ones that have been discovered now. That is Zimbabwe, Namibia, Tanzania, Mali, and I think Cameroon as well for graphite. So this is the opportunity. These ores, as of today, they are so much hot cake that immediately they are mined, they are shipped to Asia for processing. But therein lies the problem and then the opportunity. The problem is that they mine it just like normally they will mine any other thing in Africa. They just mine it, the natural resources, load it onto trucks, from the trucks to ships, and then it's shipped abroad. That's it. But as you saw, there's a $50 billion opportunity in play if we just take it one step further. If we just take the value chain one step further, from raw material to refining the ore before it is shipped. So many African governments have seen the light now. Now, I think thanks to Burkina Faso, many governments in Africa have seen the light, where they see that they are leaving so much money on the table just shipping raw ore, raw metals, or raw materials, that the real value is in the processing. So the opportunity exists now to build factories that refine. So in the nutshell, the premise is this, that African governments do not want to export raw metals or raw earth metals. they want at least it refined before it gets exported. And that's what the opportunity is about. The opportunity is about refining, cleaning up the dirty rocks or the dirty earth metals in their current state or in their natural state, processing it at least one step processing, and then shipping it off. That's opportunity number one. Let's look at opportunity number two. So opportunity number two is quite similar, different earth metal. And this has to do with bauxite. Bauxite refinery. There are large deposits of bauxite in two particular countries. There could be more, but Ghana and Guinea particularly have large deposits of bauxite. Bauxite is the raw ore or is the raw rock, as you can see over here. It looks something like this. And when it is refined, it can be refined into a valuable powder called alumina. And alumina is what is used to make aluminium or anything that uses aluminium as a byproduct, right? And one of it is one of things that aluminum is used for is making the anodes of batteries. So if you've used a car battery before, you see that metallic soft metal part where you put the terminals. Is that anode side is a component of aluminum, right? So think about it. Electric vehicles are going to require lithium 7x for battery manufacturing. The battery part of the component is the anode, where they are even now going to be making green anodes or eco-friendly anodes based on alumina. So so we have talked about lithium processing, and now we are talking about aluminum processing to make it in such a way that we are not just shipping bauxite rocks outside of Africa, but African governments are looking at processing bauxite into alumina to be able to ship. That is opportunity number two. We're looking for companies that will come in, set up factories to refine these bauxite rocks into alumina. Then let's look at the third. The third one is on-site battery precursor or gigafactories. And this gigafactory, all it's going to do, the gigafactory basically is a giant factory that is set up close to the site of the mines in such a way that the purpose is to create raw materials that are needed to make lots of batteries. So these raw materials are the powders and the slurries, and most of them come from lithium and byproducts of lithium and other things. So if you mine the lithium, you refine the lithium on site. That's opportunity number one, right? Then opportunity number two was the bauxite that gets refined to alumina to make the anodes and other parts of the battery and other aluminum byproducts like engine parts and all those kind of things. Aluminum is used in several places, aircrafts and all those things. So they have the aluminum plant, they have the lithium plant, and then out of that they create gigafactories that now makes extra components. So instead of shipping the rocks, now there's going to be 2 or 3 more production steps that could be done in Africa. At first or before, it's just mining the rock and shipping it. But now Africa is looking to do at least step number 1, step number 2, or step number 3 towards the making of an electronic vehicle battery. And that is what this gigafactory precursor, there's on-site battery precursor gigafactories is all about. So 3 different opportunities available. Now let's look at why it matters. Why all this? It's very, very vital. It's very, very vital in the sense that when these are done, there's going to be more money, particularly in the context of African countries. You're going to have more money that stays local. Because why? Compare. just shipping rocks versus polishing the rocks or cleaning the rocks. Cleaning the rocks gives jobs to local people, engineers, electricians, plumbers, factory workers, all the way to cafeteria workers and uniform, those who make uniform, garment manufacture for the workers. And the whole ecosystem gets something, right? So more money stays local. More money stays local means that there's going to be more jobs. There's going to be more knock-on jobs, indirect jobs and direct jobs. Then the second thing is that the world needs tons of batteries to power electric vehicles and solar systems. And Africa can supply the parts for profit. This greener technology. That means that more gasoline, fossil fuel cars are going to be taken off the streets because a lot more electric vehicles are going to be manufactured going forward. And that is the beauty of this, right? Then, so we look at why now? Why haven't we done this all this while? The reason is very simple. Remember, within the next 5 years, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there's going to be 7x demand for lithium. 7x demand for lithium. And if you care to know, China currently controls 60% of the refining. At least China should give Africa a little bit in terms of the refining because Africa ships more of the oils to China than China refines. We need the jobs in Africa. And African governments are they've woken up. As I said earlier, I think Burkina Faso has shown the blueprint. They've woken up. Now African governments wants to add value to raw materials before they are exported because that is where money is made. So what's happening is that why now is that African leaders are now promising generous tax incentives if investors build processing plants locally. And some of the tax incentives are sweet. You're talking of 10-year tax holidays. The least I've seen is 5 years tax holidays, but most governments are doing 10-year tax holidays. And that is really significant. Really, really significant. So now let's look at how investors are going to earn when they invest in this kind of opportunity. The earning, to me, there are many ways investors can earn, but in my view, I classify these earning potentials in two buckets. One is as an investor, you take an equity position in a company that's already doing this. If there's a company out there, maybe in Zimbabwe or in Tanzania and any other, so they need investment, they need inflow of cash to buy latest equipment to expand their capacity. So as part of a JV deal or joint venture deal, you can join them and then put your money with this in this project. And the reason why it's super safe is that most of these deals are done with long-term offtake agreements. You're talking of 5 to 10 years. What this means is very simple. The offtake agreement is that even before 1 ounce of the byproduct or the final product is shipped abroad, there's a contract that has been signed with battery manufacturers, typically in Asia. You're talking of South Korea, China, Taiwan, and the environs, that area, that whole Southeast Asia. There's a high demand for this. So what they do is that they sign offtake agreements, typically 10 years, that, hey, look, we have this agreement indexed in US dollars. Any volume your mine or your production plant in Africa can make, we will buy. So they have this commitment there for 10 years. That means that for 10 years, your factory doesn't have to worry about who is going to buy. The buyer is already there, set, prices are set, contract is signed, and they go into this 5 to 10 years. So companies like Samsung, LG, and many other battery and battery component manufacturers are jumping at this at breakneck speed. So get into an equity position so that you own a piece of the pie. And I would love African investors to jump in on this. The time has gone where everything is given is just foreigners who partake. At least we Africans must partake a little bit. Yes, we are happy with those who are outside Africa being a part of it. We are happy. But I also would be happy to see other Africans jumping in on this because this opportunity is huge because of the uptake in electronic vehicles. Right? Then the next is simple IPO play. That is, once the factory is set up, it has a production run. That means you have started refining, you started shipping stuff out to the off-taker in Asia. At that point, that whole company, that whole plant can be listed on at least either the Johannesburg or Toronto stock exchanges. And the reason is that those stock exchanges are very well known globally for mining companies. That's where many mining stocks or companies are listed. And I know Australia too would be one of them, but typically Johannesburg and Toronto, very, very, very notable for mining IPOs, right? And in this case, once it's listed on the stock market, it means that other investors are going to be buying the stocks and trading the stocks, and that's where investors typically make their money back. All right. So at this point, if you haven't already downloaded our report, I would encourage you to do this about the African Market Entry Checklist Report. If you are a company in Africa, you want to expand to other areas, you need to read this checklist. It's a 14-page comprehensive report about what you need to do to make that move. And not just that, the report is very comprehensive, very extensive. And not just that, we also give you access to our cutting edge investment opportunities finder tool, which is an AI powered tool by AfricaInsights.ai. It's one of our tool set that it captures, is able to show all the hottest investment opportunities across all 54 African countries in 18 major sectors. So you just select the country and you select the sector and you run the report. It's going to give you all the hottest investment opportunities available as we speak. All right, so if you want that report, use the QR code on the page to access the report, or use the link in the description to get hold of that report. Now let's turn our attention to the ticket and then the returns that could come out of this investment. The ticket price, that's how much it will cost, or the range it will cost to attempt something like this. Obviously, this is not for child play. This is for real investors who have got some real tenor under them and have got deep pockets. Obviously, if this rate is, a small lithium conversion plant is going to cost anywhere between 60 to $100 million, but the returns are crazy. They are anywhere, the forecast return or annual profits for this is going to be anywhere between 18 to 25% at current prices, current lithium prices. They call it spodumene prices. Current lithium or graphite prices. If you put a refinery in any of these countries, this is the kind of return you could be making. Bear in mind, these are rare earths. So when you say it's current prices, right? Current prices. Remember, rare earth prices don't typically go down. They typically trend upwards. So when you pick the price of diamond, the price of gold for over the past 10 years, you see that the price has trended up. Yes, there will be little price movements down here and there, but overall, the trend over 10 years for gold has just been like that. The trend for diamond has just been like that. So with this being a rare earth product, I can say that the price of this is not going to stay at current price. It's going to go up. So that means that the forecast returns could potentially be higher. Could be higher. All right. So with that said, for every investment opportunity, there are risks. There is no investment that doesn't carry at least some form of risk. There's always going to be some kind of risk. And let's just quickly go through some of the risks that we are seeing, and then we look at how to fix them. So the first one is price volatility. But as I said, most of these contracts are long offtake contracts denominated in US dollars. And they are not denominated in local currency. If you were doing this in local currency, then yes, you could be a victim of currency fluctuations, because in some African countries struggle to kind of modulate their currencies. That some currencies can depreciate. 10%, 15%, 20%, 25%, see even some 80%, but that's rare. But it happens. So you have to sign up a floor price offtake contract that is denominated in US dollars, and you are good. Then the next one, which is very important, that is also the reason why I want to check out the checklist, because in Africa, we do things a little bit. Africa is 54 countries. That's very different culturally. But one of the things that you realize in Africa, community engagement is key for business. As you see, community engagement is very, very key. So you don't just say, hey, I've got the mineral rights to mine over in this place, and let me just mine my thing and get out. No, the community may resist you. So you work with the community. You get their buy-in. Yes, you may get a buy-in of the government, but the government and the local community may be completely different animals you're looking at. So to prevent community opposition, think about carving out, let's say, a 5% free equity for the local to create a local trust for the local people, so that they can build some local amenities, schools, maybe roads, a library, a job center, those kind of things that would help the community. You do that, they will fall in love with you. They'll fall in love with the plant in that local area. They will love you. Basically, that's how Africa works, right? Then the last one is power reliability. For sure, many African countries struggle with power reliability. The power fluctuations, power blackouts, it's normal, right? It's bad normal, but that's the reality. There are few countries that could boast of providing 100% electricity for their citizens all year round. It's rare. So you have to plan by adding the cost of creating your own solar plant that would power your this investment will power these refineries because these refineries are going to be located in very remote areas of town. In terms of the places that the mining are done, they are typically done in very remote areas. So chances are the national grid may not even reach those places. So think about, even if the national grid reached those places, it may not be reliable for this kind of project. This project needs reliable 24/7 power. And the best thing to do is to co-locate a solar plus gas plant. Either a solar plant or gas plant, or both. Both will be phenomenal. But solar plus gas or gas plant will be amazing. I hope you found this type of content helpful. If you do, let me know in the comment that this kind of content is resourceful to you. The reason I'm doing this is that I just want to use this channel to unpack or unearth hidden opportunities in Africa to attract foreign direct investment into Africa. I believe this age is the age of Africa. There are a lot of opportunities that many people, many of us do not know about it, let alone the outside world. So using this to unearth that, using data as the underpinning block, that you unearth opportunities that are being driven by what the data is telling you. And once that opportunity becomes available, chances are the right person or the right company or organization will see it, and it will be an opportunity that resonates with them, and they would want to take the next step towards exploring or harnessing that opportunity to create jobs and drive prosperity on the continent of Africa. That's my passion, that's my joy, to see more jobs created, to see more investment opportunities flowing onto our continent, because our continent is rich. It just has not been unveiled and unpacked well yet. And that's what we're doing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.